Welcome to Ruminations. We have a special video today in relation to the new year, but this is an exercise that one can do anytime in one's life. I do it around birthdays or once a month or once a year or whatever. It's about taking stock of one's life, of taking kind of an inner psycho-spiritual inventory, an internal audit of sorts if you want, but looking at different aspects of one's life and getting a sense of how one is doing in different aspects of one's life. Question about how is this related to spirituality? No gods and goddesses here. This is the heart of what spirituality is about. As my favorite poet and his favorite verse, my favorite verse from him, Bulle Shah's, when he says, Asmani uddiyan phadda, te jehda kar baitha nu phadya nahi. You go looking for him in heavens, and that which sits at home you haven't caught, you haven't connected with. This is about connecting with what is inside. This is the heart of spirituality, cleansing, inner cleansing, so that you work on the ego, you work on the self, you remove more ego, more self out of the way. Whatever remains, that is the goal, and you can call it by whatever god or goddess or whatever name you prefer, but that's the heart of spirituality, working on one's inner self. This is about taking stock. It's a good exercise to start with. It's a good exercise to repeat after intervals in life. So let's get started.
This is basically an exercise of moving into wholeness, of looking at each dimension of your life and then seeing, are you paying enough attention to each one? Are you doing enough to keep it alive? Are you maybe spending more time in some areas and then other areas getting neglected that you need to start making more time for, more attention to, more energy to? So we'll go through one dimension at a time, and what I want you to do is to listen to the quick introduction and then pause it, and then spend a few minutes just writing about how you sit with that particular area of your life or with that dimension of your life. Take a few minutes, or at least write a few sentences, and at the end of it, depending on whether you're happy with where you are or whether you want to change or tweak a few things, for each dimension, write down a few goals if you want, and then you move on to the next one. So let's move one by one through the dimensions. The first one is physical. This is the easier one. This is we don't have too much unconscious baggage around it, except for how you feel about your physical being looks, how you feel about your body. That sometimes goes deep. But in addition, do you feel you're resting enough? Are you getting to sleep enough? Is there enough physical activity in your life? Are you exercising enough regularly? In terms of food, are you eating too much? Are you eating regular or irregularly? What kind of food? Are you eating healthy or not? And then again, after each dimension, just pause and see whether you want to change anything. First, how you're doing in it, and whether you want to change anything in that area. Moving on is the mental level, intellectually. Do you feel that you're intellectually alive? This is a simpler one also. Are you growing intellectually? Do you read new books? Do you have access to new ideas? Are you interacting with friends who are intellectually stimulating? So just paying attention to where you are in the intellectual, mental dimension of your life. And then looking at the emotional aspect. Do you have access to the whole range of emotions? Or are you blocked in certain areas? Do you generally feel healthy and happy emotionally? Or are there periods when you feel too low, too heavy, too down? If you do, then perhaps some of the other dimensions can be very, very helpful, like physical exercise. We've already talked about physical. We'll talk about social, meeting with people, interacting, talking, heart to heart conversations help. We'll talk about fun, we'll talk about spirituality, etc. But just being aware of where you are in your emotional life is very important. And then we get into the romance part of your life. Is your heart feeling alive enough? Are you moved by poetry? Are you moved by sunsets? Is there enough fizziness in your life? You know, like Coke has that fizzy thing that can go away after a while. But do you have enough of that in your life? Whether you're married or not married, or that's besides the point. But do you have a connection to romance in your life? And then you get into a difficult one. This is very, very important, especially in some parts of the world where we basically repress it a lot, and it goes into the shadow side or the unconscious. And from there, it influences our attitudes, choices, behaviors, what we do in our lives, in ways that do not always go along with the rest of our personalities. It's very important to spend time and pay some attention to how we are in the sexual dimension of our lives. This requires deeper work, actually, and at some point we may come back to it. I really, really find the work on integrating the shadow and all very, very powerful. But just for the time being, pay some attention to how you sit with that dimension of your life. This is how you sit with it within yourself, and then how you share it or reveal it or express it with your partner or your partners. So just spend some time on this. And then we get into creativity. This is one of the areas where I feel in some parts of the world we are really, really lacking and blocked, and it becomes a core issue, because out of this comes the ability to shift perspectives. Out of this comes the ability to have good humor. So anyway, in general, in the area of creativity, art, music, dance, poetry, how are you doing with it? Do you need to spend more time on it? Do you feel it's an area that you are deeply connected to? I've also lumped together beauty and aesthetics in this area. Perhaps not fair, that can easily be a separate dimension, but do you have enough beauty in your life, in your living space, in your working space? Is there enough beauty around you? Are you surrounded, immersed in beauty or not? Very important in life. And then next comes fun, entertainment, laughter. Do you have enough laughter in your life? Are there people that you can be silly with? Are there places, situations that you feel comfortable being silly in? Are you able to play? Are you able to let loose? Are you taking enough vacations? Just write in that general area and see how you feel about it. And then you look at the family in relation to your relationships, the immediate family relationships. Do you feel you're spending enough time? Do you feel you're spending too much time? Are you able to put in enough energy? Is it giving you energy? Some of these relationships taking away energy. You need to really honestly look at this dimension. We sometimes feel guilty about not wanting to look at it in a deeper way. What is the quality of your relationships? Are they nurturing relationships? Are they draining relationships? Do they feel fulfilling enough? Do you feel this dimension is in balance with other parts of your life? Or is it taking too much or not enough energy, time given to it? Just spend some time on this dimension. And how are you doing in the social dimension of your life, in socializing, in maintaining, creating, deepening, nurturing the relationships that you have with your friends? And how is that circle of friends? Is it still meaningful enough for you? Do you feel like you need to have different kinds of friends, hang out with other kinds of people? Do you have enough time to spend with your friends? This is again an area that can easily be eaten up as it competes with other dimensions of your life, as other dimensions of your life take more and more time. So pay attention to your social life. And now with the community, the larger communities that you may or may not be a part of, do you feel connected enough to the larger community and to the larger society and the social issues, and how you're contributing to the larger social issues? Now, community can also be around ethnicities, around linguistic groups, around religious groups, spiritual groups, around literary activities, around creative activities. So whatever communities you are a part of, beyond the closer circle of friends, is that meaningful enough for you? Is it the right kinds of communities that you're hanging out with? Do you want to continue being a part of them? And are you spending enough time and energy in that area? Looking next to the professional dimensions of life, are you happy with your professional career? Is this what you thought you would be doing in your life? Is this fulfilling, nurturing enough for you? Or were there times in your life that you felt you would be doing other things? Is there still some way of reclaiming part of that? Of doing things that are more fulfilling, perhaps in addition to what you're already doing as a profession. Very important in this area to spend to give some attention to how much time you're giving to your profession. Very easily, unconsciously, we can allow this area to eat up other dimensions of one's life. Very important to set healthy boundaries, especially time boundaries around your work. So, next we move into related, but the financial dimension of your life. What is your relationship like with money? Is this something that you have consciously spent time planning and setting your financials in order? For most people, it's not as much of an issue. For some people, if they are unable to control, if they're impulsive in their spending, if they don't plan, if they don't plan the future, this area, troubles in financial area, can easily eat up so many and impact so many other dimensions of one's life. So just see how your relationship to money is and spend some time on that. And then we get into spirituality, and as Gibran would say, have I spoken this day of aught else? Everything is somehow connected, included in spirituality. But do you feel centered deep down? Do you feel grounded enough in the spiritual dimension? Do you feel deeply connected? And that deeper connection can easily be sometimes eaten up by the more formalized religion. What is your relationship to the formalized religion? Do you feel it is healthy? Are there some areas where you feel the formal rituals and the form of religion may be taking away from your spirituality? Do you feel you need more time to explore that dimension, to meditate more? So see how you are with it, and if there's something you want to change within that. And I've left another area for other dimensions. The ones that we outlined above are the ones that I use when I want to get a sense of, and I do this regularly, a sense of how I'm doing in different areas of my life. But different dimensions may be more central for you, or maybe more meaningful for you, or areas where you feel you have concerns and you want to spend some time. So just add to the list. This is a beginning. Add a few things where you feel you need to pay attention to, reflect on, to set some goals around. So spend some time on that. And as you're done with the list, I want you to reread the list, and especially the goals, and fine tune the goals if you want. And then in the end, you record the date and hang on to this work that you've done, because it's very important to revisit it after some interval of time, perhaps.
Okay, so do actually do the exercise. This is not a watching video, and I hope this is as meaningful for you as it has been for me. I can go back 10 years and I have a record of doing this at regular intervals. So it becomes a fun way of keeping track of where you've been and where you're going and what areas you need to focus on. Good luck with it and have a happy new year.